Focus, control, conviction, resolve. A true ace lacks none of these attributes. Nothing can deter you from the task at hand except your own fears. This is your sky. Ace Combat 5: The Unsung War. Released on the PlayStation 2 in 2004 as the sequel to Ace Combat 4: Shattered Skies, it represents 1/3 of the so-called Holy Trinity of Ace Combat games that released on the legendary console. Most of you watching probably already know the Ace Combat formula. Action-packed arcade sim-style air combat that does a nice job of striking a balance between fun and realism, combined with unique and interesting storytelling set upon Strange Real's version of Earth. So, does the Unsung War deliver? Let's find out. To start off, the game is big. The main campaign features 29 playable missions that are just as action-packed as ever and filled with narration, dialogue, and cutscenes, which are 3D rendered this time around. In addition to the game's main story, there's also an arcade game mode, Operation Katina, that puts us back into the shoes of Mobius 1, hero of the Continental War and star of Ace Combat 4: Shattered Skies. More on that later. The story starts off by giving us a brief recap of a war that took place 15 years prior, the Belkan War, a war that saw the country of Belka push outward in a massive offensive before ultimately being pushed back by Allied forces. As the country is all but defeated, they do the unthinkable before they ultimately lose the war: detonate nuclear weapons on their own soil, killing thousands. Flash forward to present-day 2010, as an Ocean journalist, Albert Jeanette finds himself stationed on Sand Island Air Force Base, reporting on a legendary squadron leader, Jack Bartlett, who's renowned for his ability to train rookie fighter pilots. While riding backseat with Bartlett on what should be a routine training mission, unknown aircraft show up and fire on the unsuspecting trainees. Caught completely off guard by the unprovoked aggression, 8 young pilots lose their lives that day. Shortly after, we take to the skies as the player character, callsign Blaze, as a member of War Dog Squadron, to intercept an enemy recon plane that's been damaged by a missile fired by the Ocean Anti-Air Defense Network. Our objective is not to destroy the aircraft, but instead to escort it down to the ground. As we approach the objective aircraft, we're greeted by a new and somewhat interesting feature of the Unsung War, the ability to interact with dialogue. Many times throughout the campaign, the player is given questions that they can answer with either a yes or no by selecting left or right on the D-pad. This can lead to different dialogue depending on how you answer. We get to hear a little back and forth between Bartlett and Chopper, one of our wingmen who sometimes offers a bit of comic relief, as the flight lead directs Chopper to make contact with the mystery craft.
Alright, where's Motormouth Chopper? That's your name for me? You got a knack for comic dialogue. You mind sending a surrender request for me? Oh no, please, age before beauty. I'm real shy around strangers, you know. Jeez. Testing. Attention, unidentified aircraft. Set your course for our beacon immediately.
Shortly after making contact with the SR-71 of unknown origin, more potentially hostile aircraft show up and, as had happened in the previous encounter with them, they begin firing. Despite this, AWACS still orders all friendlies to hold their fire. The captain, not willing to watch any more of his trainees die, essentially tells AWACS to go shove it and orders to return fire and engage the enemies this time around, despite it being a violation of a direct order.
Flight of 4 fighters inbound. Eliminate them at once. All unknown bogey aircraft destroyed. You all alive? Alright. Nice work, Nuggets.
War Dog Squadron is successful in fending off the enemy attack, and this time, Bartlett and all of his trainees return safely to base. A few days later, an unidentified vessel is detected in the water around Sand Island launching UAVs, most likely for reconnaissance purposes. Our unit is sent up once again, tasked with downing these UAVs, but given specific orders to not engage the potentially hostile ship. The squadron is successful in their objective, however, Captain Bartlett isn't able to evade a missile fired from the vessel and takes a hit, forcing him to eject over the open water.
I can say they're down below us too. Scramble the search and rescue copter and my reserve plane.
Immediately after, breaking news arrives from AWACS, forcing us to leave Bartlett to be rescued via search and rescue later on. That breaking news?
Yuktobania just declared war. They've launched an offensive simultaneously, too. Our naval port at St. Hewlett is getting bombed right now.
War Dog Squadron gets deployed immediately to respond to the Yuk aggression, and with Captain Bartlett gone, AWACS orders Edge, otherwise known as Nagase, to lead. She declines, and we see our player character, Blaze, take the lead of War Dog Squadron for the first time. We're tasked with the primary objective of defending the aircraft carrier Kestrel, an incredibly valuable asset to the Osean forces, from any incoming fire. This mission is where we're first introduced to the ability to give our wingmen orders. At any time during sortie, the D-pad allows you to change the behavior of them by giving commands to either attack your target, cover your six, or engage freely. You can also toggle whether or not they should use their aircraft special weapons. The Yuks are relentless in their trying to sink the Kestrel, but we prevail, successfully defending the ship and supporting forces as they break through a blockade attempting to contain them. War Dog Squadron has won the day and the entire squadron returns home, unharmed. There wouldn't be much time to rest though, as shortly after we return the base, the Yuks launch an air raid on our home, Sand Island. Yep, we'll have to finish listening to that Puddle of Mud CD later on. War Dog is scrambled to defend their home and fend off the attackers.
Restriction is canceled. Protect our base.
During the mission, a young trainee, Grim, who we would go on to know by the call sign Archer, takes off the help in an effort to help defend the island. We succeed in defending him during his taxi and takeoff and proceed to eliminate any enemy forces. After all is said and done, Grim goes on to join us as the fourth member of our squadron after successfully defending our home. The story moves on to our next assignment, providing cover for 3 rendezvousing carriers, one of which is the Kestrel, the same carrier we previously protected. Things seem to go pretty well. Despite the attacking Yuk forces, War Dog Squadron and their allies are able to fend off the pressing attacks from enemy forces until an incoming ballistic missile is detected.
Ballistic missile incoming! A ballistic missile? Where'd they launch that from?
Hey, what's that?
The missile causes complete devastation to anything below an altitude of 5,000 feet and catches the Osean forces completely off guard.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, impact!
A second of these ballistic missiles impacts the area shortly after. The end result sees only the Kestrel survive. Both of the other aircraft carriers War Dog was tasked with escorting are lost to the depths. The squadron once again survives without any losses and is routed to Hierlark base after the devastating attack. We learn post-mission what was responsible for the attack, a Yuktobanian long-range underwater attack carrier known as the Sinfaxi. It poses a serious threat to Allied operations, but the Oseans have an answer to it. After returning back to Sand Island from Hierlark with a squadron of new recruits, War Dog Squadron is tasked with a new mission, defending a mass driver, an enormous, miles-long facility that is capable of launching supplies into low Earth orbit with a single-staged orbit craft. The objective of the launch we're defending, provide the equipment necessary for the massive, maneuverable orbiting spacecraft known as the Arkbird to be equipped with a powerful laser weapon that would allow the Oseans to respond to the Yuktobanian Sinfaxi threat. Despite the Yuk's best efforts, a ground assault force followed up by an attempted cruise missile strike, we successfully defend the facility and the launch is a success.
The white bird rose up once again, laser cannon in its wings. It was a moving sight. In my heart, though, I wished it didn't have to be used in war.
None of them found out why the enemy targeted the base until much later. Of course, by that time, it was too late.
Shortly after, the Yuktobanian forces form a massive fleet with the apparent objective to assault and capture our home, Sand Island. War Dog Squadron is deployed, along with all other available personnel, to defend the island to the bitter end.
I missed that sweet voice. Say, you get that from your mama's side of the family? Cut the chatter. First enemy wave, bearing 280 degrees. You are cleared to engage on sight.
After starting to make a dent in the attacking forces, an incoming missile is detected from a Sinfaxi-class vessel. The Osean forces scramble to get to an altitude to avoid its attack.
Believed to be a burst missile with multiple warheads that separate in midair. Get about 5,000 feet and stand by. Wait, we're getting a command override from somewhere. Data linked to ASAT targeting system. What is this? Oh, it's counting down by itself. 9, 8, 7. Damn it! They're not gonna make it! 4, 3, 2, 1.
The sky just lit up.
Missile destroyed by a laser beam fired from orbit altitude. It's the Arcbird. We've got the Arcbird.
To the dismay of the enemy, we see that the recently upgraded Arcbird is fully operational. The orbiting Osean superweapon allows us to continue to press the enemy fleet until the Arcbird finally scores a hit on the Synfaxi itself, forcing it to surface, allowing us to engage and destroy the Yuktobanian weapon that has already caused us so much loss.
Enemy plane shot down. Did you see that?
Following their failed attack, enemy operations appear to cease for several weeks, and War Dog Squadron finds themselves being deployed for what should be some routine air patrolling. Shortly after beginning the patrol, an Osean transport plane makes contact.
Oh, finally, a response. This is the Osean Air Force transport plane Mother Goose 1. We're flying to the neutral country of North... We have the transmitter set to minimum power. Please come in closer so we can hear. I think this is you on our radar. Can you see us? We'd like you to guide us to a safe passage corridor through the AA defenses.
Our objective changes from a patrol to carefully guiding the aircraft through the Osean Air Defense Network. Since the transport is on a top-secret mission, its ID hasn't been registered in the defense network and it's in danger of being fired upon. We carefully guide the large transport through the anti-aircraft system before enemy aircraft show up, forcing us to defend it.
Hey, I see escort fighters. I thought there weren't going to be any escorts.
While dealing with the enemy forces, the cargo of the transport plane, a person of seeming importance, advises us that there was a spy on board. The pilot is shot and killed. The plane appears to have been sabotaged, and there's no option but to perform an emergency landing. The emergency landing is a success as the cargo survives unharmed. The cutscene that follows shows some dialogue between the man and Nagase that solidifies the importance of this mystery passenger.
It's a pretty smooth ride, actually.
Mr. Cargo, I've got a question I'd like to ask you.
What is it?
The Bird of Peace. Did you really have to use that beautiful white bird for this war? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wanted to see your bridge of peace span into outer space.
It's still possible. Thanks to the bird, we're on even terms now. I'm trying to get to North Point because I believe we have a chance.
To hold talks in neutral territory.
Right. Communication is vital.
So I can still believe in you then. I don't want to see any more young...
War Dog is relieved of guard duty, running low on fuel, as an allied squadron shows up to provide air cover for the downed transport until help can arrive.
This is the Ocean Air Force 8492nd Squadron. We observed the emergency landing on our radar. Can you see us? You can leave the rest to us. We'll provide support until the transport plane's crew is rescued.
Roger, 8492nd. Take care of him for us.
Sure thing.
Before our next deployment, we learn that a tragedy has befallen the Arcbird.
The Arcbird.
Huh?
The white bird in outer space, with Yuktobania outclassing us in firepower. It was the President's one trump card in the peace negotiations. And now, it's fallen right out of our hands.
So you're saying we don't know how long the war will drag on? The Arcbird. A superweapon capable of attacking from space, far beyond the reach of the enemy. Its power generator was destroyed by explosives planted inside a supply shipment launched from Earth.
Despite the loss, the tide of war seems to change as our forces begin to take the fight to Yuktobania itself, shifting from defense to offense. War Dog is deployed to provide air cover for attacking ground forces before being deployed to pursue the enemy's retreat. While pursuing and engaging the fleeing enemy, something strange happens. Communications begin to be jammed as the 8492nd announces their arrival, and we hear an enemy communication come across the airwaves.
The Ocean planes are firing on a school packed with civilians. They're at the engineering college.
Thunderhead, our AWACS, directs a communication directly at us, asking if we participated in attacks on civilians.
Multiple casualties! Get an ambulance over here fast! Damn it, the Ocean bastards. This is Thunderhead. War Dog, did you engage in an attack on a civilian facility?
We of course deny any involvement, but the attacks take place in War Dog's operational area for the mission. Upon mission completion, we're advised to immediately report to Command's headquarters in the capital of Osea. War crimes seem to be committed by the Oseans, and someone needs to answer for it.
Alred, the Ocean capital. The winds of war have yet to reach here. The air still smells of peace.
But that wasn't us. By the time we got there, they had already...
That's right. We heard them over the radio. They called themselves the 8492nd Squadron.
8492! 8492! Is that all you people have to say? There is no squadron in our military with that number. Damn it!
Before the hearing is completed, though, Yuke aircraft are detected on radar just outside the capital. All pilots are called upon for defense, and War Dog Squadron is deployed, despite their innocence not yet being proven. Combat commences over the capital as the Yuktobanians begin to attack and destroy all aircraft, including those that are civilian. We hear another piece of audio come in.
We got word that the enemy Special Forces unit that gassed the college town is headed for the airport. Stay heads up.
Despite the horror of the day's events, War Dog is successful in fending off the attack on the capital airport and saves countless lives. We learn that the chemical attack is halted by a neutralizing agent that was deployed. Peace between the two nations seems to be growing less and less likely as the hatred between Osea and Yuktobania increases. Osea responds to the violent attack by launching an offensive mission against the Yuk supply depot that contains enough ammunition to supply an entire ground division for a week. We destroy the depot, dealing a large blow to enemy logistics before we see this cutscene that depicts the legend of Razgriz.
When history witnesses a great change, Razgriz reveals itself, first as a dark demon. As a demon, it uses its power to rain death upon the land, and then it dies. However, after a period of slumber, Razgriz returns.
We learn that Osean forces are planning an assault on the Yuktobanian capital in an effort to quickly end the war. But as they're staging, burst missiles from a second Sinfaxi-class vessel, the Rimfaxi, attack the ground force. Fortunately, the attack is still able to proceed, but the Rimfaxi poses a serious threat to future operations and must be dealt with. War Dog Squadron is to be deployed to the icy Razgriz Straits, the location of the enemy sub. Failure to destroy the sub could spell disaster for the ground offensive. Despite its best efforts to defend itself, War Dog Squadron is successful in sinking the enemy sub.
Let up for even a second, and we'll get showered by that metal rain.
Rimfaxi launching burst missile! 10 seconds to impact. 4, 3, 2, bursting, now!
Look, the Razgriz story was true. Geez, you guys don't believe in that? That's just a tall tale. Order! All hands...
Rimfaxi launching burst missile! Rimfaxi? It appears you're up against Razgriz itself out there.
Following the destruction of the Rimfaxi, we learn that during their offensive push, our allies discovered a POW internment camp. A helicopter is inbound to extract the POWs, and War Dog is tasked with defending them. After dealing with enemy forces, we hear Nagase frantically asking if Bartlett is among the POWs, who is still missing since he was shot down way back at the beginning of the story.
Alright, everyone's in the helicopter. Checking to make sure we got all of them.
Sea Goblin, is Captain Bartlett there? Check for Captain Bartlett.
No, nobody named Bartlett here. Hey, what about you? Nope, not here. None of the other POWs ever heard of him either.
He isn't there. Nagase is immensely disappointed with this.
Just check for me one more time.
Damn it, Nagase!
After all the captain said to me,
You all right?
I'm fine. My plane's trashed, but those are always replaceable.
Due to deteriorating conditions, we're left with no option but to leave her behind, alone and with no Allied support. Thankfully, Command immediately orders a combat search and rescue operation for our downed friend as soon as conditions improve. There will be no leaving her behind. The rescue operation begins, and despite the Yuke's best effort to get the Nagase first, the mission is a success. We see just how badass our wingman is in the following cutscene.
When the rescue team found her, she was holding captive a group of soldiers who were sent in to capture her. Behind her was the helicopter crew that crashed while trying to rescue her. She had saved them, treated their wounds, and hid them in a safe place. I needed to rethink my image of her after this, after seeing her amazing toughness and tenacity. She even managed to obtain a little information from the soldiers she captured. It seems the people of Yuktobania were also beginning to have doubts about their leaders in the current war. And word of Nagase's squadron was getting around, as the force that sunk 2 of their most powerful submarines. The Yuke Army's soldiers had nicknamed them the Demons of Razgriz. She was obviously very proud of that when she told me about it later. Perhaps her pride was for Captain Bartlett, the man who had trained them, or maybe it was for her current captain. However, nobody in the upper echelons of her own army was proud of them. Bartlett was still missing, and that made his old trainees the subject of suspicion and criticism.
With Nagase rescued, War Dog Squadron, with their newly given nickname, the Demons of Razgriz, continued to help the Allied offensive, finding more success as the army of Osea advances on nearly all fronts. A brief pause in War Dog's offensive deployment occurs when they're called upon to perform a flyover of a sporting stadium where the Vice President is giving a speech to help inspire the war efforts. We fly in formation over the stadium, and after, see the Vice President give a speech, but the response to it is not one that was expected.
People of Osea, please lend an ear to this broadcast. As your Vice President, I stand here on behalf of the President of Osea. Listen to your fellow country, cheering before me. They are filled with anger against Yuktobania, and they swear that they will not drop their weapons until Yuktobania has surrendered. Now, I ask you to listen. Listen to me! Great. Here comes the thunderous applause.
Shortly after, enemy aircraft show up, having somehow penetrated inland. Being the only Allied aircraft in the area, War Dog is forced to defend against the Yuktobanians without any other support.
Attention all units approaching November City. I guess they had us going too. What? Who is this?
An 8492nd member makes themselves heard on the radio, and the chaos of the day continues to build as bombers are spotted making their way towards the packed stadium. We're forced to deal with them, or else risk the lives of thousands of civilians. One of our wingmen, Chopper, takes a hit during the engagement. He keeps the plane up, waiting for the stadium to get further evacuated before commencing with his plan to ditch the plane, ejecting shortly before impact. Things don't go quite as planned though.
There's nothing but houses down below. I can't leave this plane yet. Kid, you see any place where I can drop this plane? Way to go, Captain. So where?
The stadium, Chopper. Can you hear me? Drop it into the center of the stadium and bail out. Do you understand?
Roger. Good idea. Gives me some clue I just might make it. I'd better wait for the crowd to evacuate some more. Damn it! My cockpit's emergency alarm won't shut up!
Captain Davenport, please bail out!
Just a little more. Just let me keep flying until the evacuation's over. Damn it! I'm losing thrust. Grim, you take that enemy.
All right, just keep flying!
Captain Davenport, report on the status
Now get out!
I can't. The electrical system's all messed up. The canopy won't blow. The ejection seat's probably not working either.
Don't give up! Chopper! Keep trying! Chopper!
I'm gonna miss that voice.
Our friend and ally is lost, but the mission isn't done. We hear the enemy comment on how the flying of the squadron changes, vastly improving, and we succeed in holding off the enemy. Despite our loss, the day is a victory for the Osean forces. Civilian casualties were kept to a minimum, thanks in part to Chopper's sacrifice.
Join me in saluting Captain Davenport.
The cutscene that precedes the following mission gives us some clues as to what's really going on in the war, as we see the reporter, Jeanette, talking to the flight mechanic, Pops.
I'm amazed they're still making them like this.
They?
This looks like a standard fighter jet, but it's actually different. They've done a lot of things to reduce the number of parts and cut down manufacturing costs, without sacrificing the plane's strength and performance. Very cost effective. You could make 3 planes for the price of 2 this way.
Who's this they you're referring to?
North Osea Grunder Industries. Formerly the South Belka Munitions Factory, run by the Belkan government.
But Osea has taken over that land now. South Belkan technology is being used for Osea. Why does Yuktobania have this?
Good question. Actually, speaking of Belka, Osea recruited some Belkan flying aces after the war 15 years ago to strengthen our Air Force. You know about this?
No. Really?
An aggressor squadron comprised entirely of Belkan aces, our old enemy. Well, that's the rumor anyway. Even an old fox like me isn't sure they exist.
North Osea Grunder Industries tech is in Yuktobanian aircraft. How is this possible? War Dog's next deployment sees us attacking Kuruk Fortress, a stronghold that has held out throughout the course of the war, despite Osea's best efforts to overtake it. With the demons of Razgriz overhead, though, providing air support and supporting the ground forces' advances, the fortress finally falls.
The so-called impregnable fortress fell in half a day, and the momentum of the Osean army had reached a peak. Its final stronghold lost, the Yuktobanian army was setting up a barricade in the urban area up ahead. The next battle could see a lot of bloodshed, with innocent civilians caught in the crossfire. However, the men and officers of the Osean army were optimistic. They thought, as long as the 3 fighters from Sand Island were taking part in the action, things would turn out all right. They have become the center of the army's strength now.
The enemy capital and the end of the war is all but in sight now. We fly at the direction of AWACS towards the enemy capital, when a sequence of events occurs that forever alters the fate of War Dog Squadron.
Step away from the enemy's capital. We can win this as long as you're with us. I can feel it.
Those enemy pilots we fought today. I can't imagine how wonderful it would be to fly with them in peacetime.
Yeah.
War Dog, this is the 8492nd Squadron. Can you see us? It'll be an honor for us to escort you heroes. Let's go home.
Yeah, but I'm still wondering what Captain Chopper was doing when... Enemy ECM! Wait a second. That escort plane. Oh no!
The 8492nd Squadron doesn't exist!
The 8492nd Squadron leads us into a trap as ECM prevents any communication. We hear a Belkan voice call out on the radio.
Multiple unmarked fighters inbound. Hey, is that their voice on the radio?
You must destroy them. We can't let them end this war.
Roger. We'll surround them
Belka is behind what's been going on. We've been being deceived this whole time. We're forced to retreat. The truth of what's happening needs to be revealed. War Dog Squadron is able to escape the area after fending off the initial enemy attack. We see Jeanette and Pops having a discussion as the real big picture of what's occurring slowly starts to come together.
That President Harling is nowhere to be found within the capital.
Not really. The hardline war Osea is waging right now hardly resembles the peace policy the President was promoting. Let me guess. He disappeared just before we invaded Yuktobania, right?
Exactly. My journalist friends told me that nobody's seen him enter or leave the office since. All of his decisions are communicated through the Vice President. And it gets better. A lot of the military officers that resigned over disagreement with the President's arms reduction plan have started to return to the capital.
I found out something myself. That Belkan aggressor force I was telling you about. Apparently they're called the 8492nd Squadron. Also, and here's the kicker, Captain Hamilton, the adjutant base commander here, used to be assigned to the 8492nd.
What?
Oh, they're back.
War Dog arrives back at Sand Island with a determination to confront the base commander and hopefully find out what the hell's going on.
He treated our president like an idiot just because he wanted peace.
What about his adjutant, Captain Hamilton?
Roger that. The captain and I will go see him.
Jeanette and Pops beat them to it though and confront the base commander themselves.
Thank you for coming, Second Lieutenant. I was just thinking about calling you over.
Me?
Special Forces Second Lieutenant Peter N. Beagle. Or I guess you prefer Pops. 15 years ago, you and Bartlett were shot down over enemy terrain. Bartlett's Squadron HQ was destroyed, and all of its data was fried by Belka's magnetic pulse weaponry. When you made it back to the Allied front lines, it was Bartlett's word that convinced them that you were his squadron leader. Is that really true? Bartlett turned out to be a spy. So, who are you really? Can't prove anything about your military record, can you?
This way!
Arrest them on sight! They're spies! Shoot them if you have to!
Hamilton's got the base commander deceived, too.
I punched that guy's lights out. That bastard was wearing a major's insignia on his shoulder.
I don't know who it is, but someone's trying to widen the rift between the two countries and keep this war going. If Osea continues to win, then the war will be over.
And they're after us to prevent that? You're kidding!
You people are the pillar of morale for the entire Osean army now.
And now you know something you were better off not knowing. The President's disappearance.
Listen, Pops, who exactly are you?
It's no good. They seized our planes in the hangars.
Hangar C in the rear probably isn't so heavily guarded.
Yeah, but over there's nothing but...
We'll escape with my training jets. Good thing I maintain all my planes well, eh? Let's try it. Jeanette, you take the seat behind me.
War Dog Squadron is able to make a narrow escape as they leave their former home behind.
So where do we go now? We no longer have a home to return to.
Attention all Air Force planes. Enemy spy elements have made off with 4 training jets and are heading north. Find them and shoot them down. Repeat, all Air Force planes.
That's Hamilton's voice. Bastard!
Guess I'll try my hand at combat maneuvering then. Excuse me while I take the lead. Follow me, people.
We don't make it far though as the 8492nd shows up, ready to down every single last one of us.
We have a visual on the enemy. Engaging.
It turns out though, Pops is someone much more important than we were led to believe. He isn't just some washed up old flight mechanic, but instead is a renowned Belkan ace, Colonel Wolfgang Buckner. The former colonel succeeds in leading us away from the aggressors through a series of islands and tunnels, and we eventually lose the pursuing 8492nd Squadron. When it appears that we're free and clear, Captain Snow, aka Swordsman, a former ally, shows up.
It's a signal light. Trust me. Bail out. He wants us to bail out?
What say we trust him then? Jeanette, you first. Swordsman to Thunderhead. Splash 1. Tracked on radar. Kill confirmed. Just 1 left.
This stun appears to be the only way to move forward, and it seems to work, leading the 8492nd and their allies to believe that the demons of Razgriz have been defeated. We then go on to see who is responsible for our rescue and one of the few people who we can now truly trust.
This is Sea Goblin. We have found the floating remains of the destroyed aircraft in the water. I don't see any of the crew. It looks like they couldn't eject and sank with their planes. Roger, Sea Goblin. Return to base. All right, let's go. We've got a new home waiting for you.
Captain Anderson, the man who commanded the aircraft carrier Kestrel and kept her afloat through countless battles.
Nah, I'm just a guy who's fought one losing battle after another.
However, since this war began, this ship hadn't taken a single hit from enemy forces.
This ship may be unharmed, but it pains me to see fewer and fewer pilots coming back every time we launch them out on combat sorties. Now the only pilot left is Captain Snow, the squad leader. Nobody wants an aircraft carrier without aircraft. So we're just sitting idle here.
At the end of the last war, I was assigned the mission of dropping a nuclear weapon on a city in my own country. When I refused and went AWOL, it was Captain Bartlett who took me in. His nickname was also Kid back then. He was a strange man. 15 years since the war and he never got promoted once. In my country there was a group called the Gray Men, unlikely to still be around today. To them, I'm a traitor. And for the past 15 years, Bartlett's protected me from them. Speaking of which, you don't think the Gray Men are involved with the disappearance of President Harling, do you?
I've got an intelligence-gathering vessel in my fleet, the Andromeda, that's capable of intercepting all forms of communications. Recently, it picked up a secret message transmitted in Belkan. That, Colonel, is why I called all of you here.
We're briefed on our next mission, rescuing the president of Osea. After taking off from the Kestrel, we engage the enemy and provide support while the president is extracted.
That helicopter ride was pretty comfy. Engaging enemy in the castle! They've got armored troops too! We gotta hurry! The president will be in danger! We're busting through this wall with the explosives we brought with us!
Upon his rescue, we hear his voice.
We managed to make it out of there! Mission accomplished! Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your efforts. By the way, your voice sounds familiar. Are you... I thought so. Looks like I owe you another one.
It turns out the cargo of the transport plane that crash landed earlier in the story was very important after all.
He was smiling and chatting with Pops and Captain Anderson. Apparently, he spent his days confined in the old castle, looking at the 7 Ground Zero craters right out his window, which served as the border between the two countries of North and South Belka. In the end, the Osean army couldn't take the Yuktobanian capital, and the war began to bog down. For Belka, who challenged the world to battle, but were crushed by the twin powers of Osea and Yuktobania, there could be no sweeter revenge. They had created the hatred between the two countries, hoping that the war would eventually exhaust them both. The military officials on both sides were playing right into their hands. The intelligence vessel continued to intercept the Yuktobanian army's communications. One message from Air Force Traffic Control contained a string of mysterious numbers. Latitude, longitude, a date and time, and one more set of numbers. The president had the answer.
Well, how about that? These are the numbers of votes I won in my presidential elections. Huh, this is from the first time I won, and here's the number from the election 2 years ago. This message was meant for me.
The coordinates marked a location within North Belkan territory. The date was tomorrow. The squadron from Sand Island became the president's personal air fleet, even as the official reports continued to state that they were shot down and killed. This was their new emblem.
Our next mission sees us flying with a brand new emblem and a fresh paint job as we deploy under a new name, the Ghosts of Razgriz. This was probably my least favorite mission. I'm never a huge fan of navigation missions like this, but this one in particular was a little rough. It requires you to maintain a low altitude to navigate through a radar system. The size of the radar zones you're trying to evade increases or decreases based on your altitude. So if you're cutting it kind of close and inadvertently gain a little altitude during a turn while maneuvering, it's very easy to get a mission fail and have to restart. But alas, I found success as we completed the mission objective, which was photographing a recently discovered mining facility. We see clear evidence that the Belkan 8492nd Squadron is operating with the Yuktobanians as their planes are parked next to each other. Upon arriving back at base, we learned that analysis of the photos has revealed the presence of a tactical nuclear weapon, not unlike those detonated by the Belkans during the Belkan War 15 years earlier. The nuclear weapons were more than likely stored in the mine, which leaves one option. Razgriz's squadron must go back and destroy the mine shaft in order to prevent the Belkans from extracting any more nuclear weapons from the mine's depths. After fierce resistance from the enemy, the entrance to the mine is sealed off, preventing any more tactical nukes from being brought out, although it's not entirely known how many were extracted prior. Another set of numbers arrives from the mystery sender. This time, the numbers point to a location in Yuktobania. Upon arriving at the location, we receive a message and update regarding the situation. The resistance members are attempting to disarm a captured Belkan nuke. The goal is to buy them all the time they need and fend off any enemies in the area that are searching for them. Just when things appear to be all clear, the Belkan squadron of aces, known as Ofnir, shows up.
This is Ofnir 2. You sure it's them? This is Ofnir 1. I said that's what I heard. The ghosts of the demons of Razgriz. You're kidding. They all sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Didn't the guys from Grabok tell you that? We'll find out if they're ghosts or not when we take them on in combat.
Razgrease is able to down the enemy, and before the mission ends, we get a message from an old friend.
All right, but who told you that we'd definitely be coming for you?
I don't know his name, but he left a message for your captain. I'll read it. It says, "Hey kid, I hear you're a hell of a squad captain now. Do you get it?"
Yes, perfectly.
Bartlett, our former captain, is still alive. After returning from our mission, we learn that a coded message has been intercepted, and it contains something shocking. Plans for the Arkbird to attack a Yuktobanian city. The spaceborne weapon wasn't lost after all, just captured by the group looking to extend the war between the two nations. And worse yet, it's now armed with nuclear weapons. The ghosts of Razgrease deploy and intercept the weapon with the goal of bringing it down.
It just jettisoned something.
There's an escape capsule.
Adler Shanseng, he got away.
The Ocean astronaut?
Yeah, it's alright. We don't need him anymore. Oh, damn it. He must have done something to the control system before he got away. Turn off that switch. Damn, we're slowing down. We're gonna dive deep into the atmosphere. What are you doing? There are only 4 planes back.
They've decided to spread bruises forward. Can you
Ready all cannons. We're going out in a blaze of glory.
fences?
We find success once again as the Arkbird is finally put down for good.
The president broadcast his voice repeatedly in an effort to reveal the truth to his citizens and soldiers. However, the central government, now run by the vice president and his generals, censored all of it, calling it enemy propaganda. And Yuktobania, their enemy, wasn't about to stop fighting either. The president needed to enter the capital himself with his Marine force. But that meant risking his life. As he boarded the helicopter, the president smiled and said, "Here goes." The third encrypted message from Bartlett came shortly after. This time, there were no coordinates. All it showed was a time and a radio frequency. At the appointed time, everyone gathered in front of the radio speaker.
Hey, it's me! Get the wax out of your ears and listen up. We found Nicanor, the leader of Yuktobania, and we broke him out of prison. This war wasn't his doing at all.
Bartlett has rescued Nicanor, the Prime Minister of Yuktobania, from his captors. He plans to attack a Yuktobanian airfield to steal a plane and escape with the Prime Minister. We're deployed to meet up and assist Bartlett with whatever is necessary to find success in his mission. We provide cover for the Resistance and Bartlett as they advance towards the airfield until the 8492nd Squadron arrives on the scene.
Is that really them? I saw those planes plunge into the ocean along with the colonel on my radar. It's them, the ghosts of Razgrease. They were the ones that attacked the mine, too. All right, let's find out for ourselves at that.
Guys all day. I can't...
After dealing with them, there's nothing left to prevent Bartlett and the Prime Minister from extracting. The mission is a success, and we see a cutscene that follows explaining how Bartlett came to be in the position he was.
He had returned once more. He brought Nicanor, the Prime Minister of Yuktobania, with him, and surprisingly, he had brought one more person. A female recon major in the Yuk Army, the one who broke his heart 15 years ago. It became clear why nobody could find him in the POW camps. The very first POW of the war, he had escaped before they could even get him into the camps. Yuktobania's situation was just like ours. Their leader, who espoused reconciliation, was imprisoned after a silent coup d'etat, and the country proceeded to march right into large-scale war. What should I call you?
Just Major.
What's your real name? All she did was return a smile. She remained faithful to the Prime Minister and to his vision of peace, and that faith had brought her here. She was carrying a single disc. She told us that the disc contained the secret plans of the Belkan Greymen. So far, we have been unable to decipher the encryption code.
We also learn of another potential devastating weapon.
The Solg, a military attack satellite that your country began building during the war 15 years ago, then abandoned in the peace that followed. The Arcbird was reborn partly to resurrect that dreadful star. Now, even after the Arcbird was destroyed, the Space Center's mass driver is still launching supplies into orbit. What is that star receiving from them?
Shortly after the rescue of the Prime Minister, the Kestrel and its battle group encounters an enemy fleet.
The enemy fleet contains 18 ships, arrayed in a battle formation designed to block our fleet's path.
Attention, Yuktobanian fleet. This is Prime Minister Nicanor, representative of your government. I am on the...
Kestrel?
Yes, Kestrel.
I am on the ocean carrier Kestrel, for the sake of restoring peace between our Yuktobania and the country of Osea. We will once again...
Attention, all vessels. The only thing that exists between Yuktobania and Osea is hatred. Prime Minister Nicanor has joined the enemy. Recognize him as such and sink the enemy fleet with him. But Commander, that's the Prime Minister talking. Please, stand down. You don't know what we're fighting for anymore. Sir, please, cancel engagement and stand down. All vessels loyal to the fleet. The traitor is blocking our way. Attack the frigate ship Potomac. Open fire.
Prime Minister, please take your leave.
But...
Go to our president and get a televised picture of the two of you together, shaking hands. Show it to the world.
Razgri's squadron is launched from the Kestrel to defend against the aggressing Yuktobanian and Osean ships who are determined to stop us.
A joke. You better not take any damage. I'll take full responsibility for this. Commence firing. Tell them to hurry up and engage. Allied fleet approaching. Looks like the Osean fleet has been listening to all of our communications up to now. They're calling us traitors that joined forces with the Ukes. They've got an overwhelming advantage in manpower, but we'll be slaughtered. Osean ships attacking. Transmit. Damn it, a missile. Osean cruise. Osean carrier.
Enemy escort ship.
It contains the...
We're almost there.
After successfully defending the fleet, a combined fleet is formed with the Kestrel as its flagship. Upon returning to the Kestrel, we learn that the disc carried by the Yuktobanian woman, Major, has been decoded, and what it contains is terrifying. Blueprints for a V2 weapon of mass destruction that contains a far greater potential for destruction than the tactical nukes detonated by Belka in the previous war. Being a MIRV missile, it has the ability to wipe out half of the large cities on either Osea or Yuktobania with just one attack. The enemy plans on deploying it from the Solg, an orbital weapons platform that has been secretly completed over the past 15 years. We learn that control of the weapon originates from Grunder Industries, the weapon manufacturer that creates much of Osia's military hardware. The president of the company has been a secret member of the Grey Men, a group of Belkan nationalists who are responsible for orchestrating the war in the first place. As we're being briefed on our objective, a secret underground facility that houses a tunnel that's under construction, an alarm blares.
Their ultimate goal is to reunite the two Belkans. And in that tunnel...
The Kestrel just took a missile hit. Enemy unknown. We can't identify it in time. Additional missile approaching. Rosgreaves, launch immediately and gain altitude to escape.
Second wave of missiles inbound. 10 seconds to impact. Counter with artillery barrage. We can't hit all of them. Brace for impact.
Starboard side flood! Damage control! We've been hit by 2 sub-launch missiles! The ship's listing!
Launch them out!
We can't! The ship's listing heavily to starboard! We're sinking fast!
Continue with the launch!
What?
Take them up. Hurry up with the catapult. Just concentrate on launching them. All hands not conducting aircraft launch, abandon ship immediately.
We're getting you guys into the air no matter what. I don't care what happens to the...
Rosgreaves is just barely able to deploy before the Kestrel goes down. R.I.P. You were a hell of a ship.
The Kestrel is gone.
I've lost time and time again. But now, I finally won. Look, we launched them off safely. There's my victory. As long as they're in the air, I haven't lost. And I know they'll succeed. Yeah.
The captain was humming a tune. The same song I heard from the anti-war audience at the stadium. He was the one playing that record in the middle of a sea battle.
This is President Harlan of the Osean Federation. Attention, all Osean and Yuktobanian officers and soldiers currently on the battlefield. Let us put down our guns and come out of the trenches. The Osean capital of Alred has been freed of the people who took advantage of my absence to usurp control of the country. Once robbed of my freedom and of my ability to do the right thing, I now stand again under the light of the golden sun. And I do so with the Honorable Yuktobanian Prime Minister Nicanor by my side. We have resolved our terrible and unfortunate misunderstandings, and the war is now over.
This is Prime Minister Nicanor, head of government for the Union of Yuktobanian Republics. Attention all officers and soldiers of Osea and Yuktobania currently on the battlefield. Please watch as President Harlan and I stand shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand. President Harlan's words are true. The war is over, but there is one more battle that still needs to be fought.
We believe that those who have tried to stir hatred between us are now preparing a weapon that could wipe out half of all metropolitan areas in either one of our countries. Our comrades are in flight as I speak, determined to stop this plan dead in its tracks. Which country is under the threat of mass destruction? That we do not know.
However, that is no longer important. No matter which country is hit, it would be a severe blow to all of us.
So now I ask you, members of the military, if you see it in your hearts, please utilize the resources available to you and help out our brave pilots. Right now they are flying east to meet the enemy.
To those who still dare to hide behind the power of their hateful weapons, bring yourself before the light of peace and harmony.
With no ship to return to and millions of lives at stake, this will be our final effort to stop the Solg and put an end to the Grey Men once and for all. As we approach our destination, the broadcast of the President of Osea and Prime Minister of Yuktobania is heard by all, and many Yuktobanian and Osean forces that would have been opposing us instead joined forces as we move to make our assault on the facility.
So are we.
The ghosts of Razgriz make short work of the enemies around the facility, but to finish the job, we'll need to take the fight inside. In typical Ace Combat fashion, we're required to navigate into the underground facility through a series of doors and tunnels in order to deliver the final blow to the control system for Solg.
Target neutralized!
Where's Hamilton? He's dead. Hit by a ricocheting plane.
Just when we think the day is won, though, we learn that there's still one more piece of business to deal with. The Solg, having its control link terminated, is performing an automated descent, having most likely been pre-programmed to do so in the event that loss of control ever occurred. Its calculated landing point? Ored, the capital of Osea. Razgri's squadron is called upon one final time to prevent destruction on a massive scale. We take off and head to the calculated defense point, running into some Belkan aces along the way who refuse to give in to the prospects of peace. After dealing with them, the Solg itself makes its arrival into the airspace. Destroying the orbital platform requires the player to shoot certain structural points that are protected either by the structure of the satellite itself or solar panels that need to be shot off. When these panels are destroyed, they release off the aircraft and pose a serious threat to any aircraft they impact.
Accelerator. That's bad news. This is the outlet.
You can see this.
Whoops. After some well-planned attacks and execution, I stopped getting smacked in the face by solar panels and found success.
All solar panels destroyed.
Well, this is getting a little more encouraging now. You can see the solar fragments reflecting light here.
All that's left of their hatred is this thing in front of us. This is our final flight. We will get through this.
History witnesses a great change. Razgriz reveals itself, first as a dark demon. As a demon, it uses its power to rain death upon the land, and then it dies. However, after a period of slumber, Rosgrees returns, this time as a great hero.
Post-completion, we see some excerpts regarding the Sand Island Squadron. Officially, they were shot down on December 7th, 2010, and no records of them exist after. We see that the president of Osea plans to make all details regarding the Belkan conflict available to the public in the year 2020. The excerpts conclude with some final words from President Harling. "We must let time shed light on the truth behind this conflict. In the meantime, the world has already begun to head down a new path. And this path shall go on, as long as the blaze of fire that shines through the darkness is not extinguished." The story concludes with some final words from the Ocean reporter, Jeanette.
Peace has once again spread across the world. The aces of Rosgrees never flew in the skies of battle again. Above the clouds, there was only a clear blue sky, no longer in need of heroes. And perhaps that's exactly what they were hoping for, all this time.
Overall, I enjoyed the story of Ace Combat 5. Don't crucify me here, but out of the holy trinity of PS2 games, this was probably my least favorite. That's not to say that the Unsung War isn't good. I just think 4 and 0 pull ahead of it for me for a couple of reasons. The first reason is the storytelling style. Now, the game tells a compelling, twisting story brought to life by the numerous CGI cutscenes and tons of missions. The game felt much longer than 4 or 0. The focus of storytelling in this game, though, was different. In Ace Combat 4, the narrative of the story created a buildup of anticipation for my showdowns with Yellow Squadron. I felt like I truly knew the man that was Yellow 13, and even regretted having to shoot him down. In 0, our relationship with Pixie, seeing what drives him away from us as the war turns uglier and uglier, and ultimately the anticipation of his return, was the focal point. This, combined with the interviews of him after the fact, recalling the events of the war from the perspective of his younger self, really made the story hit home. In Ace Combat 5, there's no single enemy or confrontation to focus on as the story progresses. Yes, there's the overall conspiracy of what's really occurring as events unfold, and there's the 8492nd Squadron that we ultimately face off against, which was cool, but the final showdown with the 8492nd Squadron was really not what the game was building to, and as a result, comes nowhere close to hitting home as hard as the showdowns with other antagonists from the other two titles. Instead, the focal point seemed to be on stopping the war itself and the conspiracy. This was interesting, don't get me wrong, but the finale of the story, flying out of the tunnel after destroying the Solg's control system and bringing down the re-entering Solg itself, for me just paled in comparison to the feelings I had when I destroyed Megalith. Or shot down Pixie and saw the final interview with him. You know, that final, "Yo buddy, still alive?" This could be just personal preference, as I know there are a ton of people out there who have Ace Combat 5 as their favorite Ace Combat game. Also, the choice to isolate special weapons to one choice per aircraft seemed like a step backwards from Ace Combat 4. I get the want and desire to have players need to use different aircraft and not just be on one for the whole game, but I think the game would have been better with the older system that allowed you to choose between multiple different special weapons per aircraft. The game is still good, 100%, but for me, I'd put it under 4 and 0 on my personal rankings. Now, in addition to story mode, the game also features an arcade mode, Operation Katina. This game mode puts you back into the cockpit of Mobius 1's legendary F-22 to deal with the group of Erusians who refuse to disarm. They call themselves Free Erusia. The mode is designed to be played through multiple times, with each run-through being comprised of a total of 7 missions. As you progress, there are multiple branches to choose from, adding to the replayability factor. Missions are composed of air and ground targets and play out, well, sort of like an arcade game. You have an objective for how many targets need to be down for mission completion, and a timer. Destroying enemies extends the timer. If it runs out, you fail. You're also much more restricted when it comes to weapons. You carry nowhere near as many missiles at the start of each mission as you do in the base campaign. Instead, there are certain enemies on the map that, when destroyed, will give you bonus missiles. Although it's worth noting that, unlike the main campaign, you do have unlimited gun ammo, so feel free to go in guns hot on your targets. At the end of each mission, you're given a score that continues to be built upon as you complete subsequent missions, with the highest end rank achievable being SSS. Completion of the final mission gives you a lovely cutscene where you see Mobius 1 flying triumphantly, the remnants of Free Erusia now destroyed.
HQ has confirmed the success of Operation Katina. Free Erusia has been completely destroyed. This miraculous result has far exceeded our expectations.
I really enjoyed my playthrough of Ace Combat 5. Its twisting, engaging story, combined with the gameplay that we all know and love, delivers a winner in my books. Sure, I may prefer 4 and 0 over it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's still an amazing game worth playing. But what are your thoughts? I'd love to hear your opinions on why Ace Combat 5 is your favorite Ace Combat game, or maybe why it isn't. Let me know down below. This is Jarbo Gaming. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
The future of our country's aeronautical development. You have our utmost gratitude for saving the skies of Usea once again.